Good morning, parents. Kirk Jones, high school pastor, North Coast Fallbrook, giving you the weekend recap for January the 6th. Um, we went through the first part of James chapter 2, talking about favoritism um, and talking about kind of James's audience and what they were dealing with racially and culturally and things like that. And just reminding the students that the gospel's for everyone, and I had them think of the person that they dislike the most. Um, and the gospel and God's love is for that person too. And so our job is not to show favoritism because our God does not show favoritism. I pulled out Deuteronomy 10:17, Acts chapter 10 verse 34 and 35, Ephesians 2 verses 14 through 15. I'll talk about how God does not show favoritism whatsoever. And even if he did, James kind of points out it would be the poor that would be blessed because they don't have to deal with these obstacles of getting in the way of their faith and their relationship with God. And what I mean by that is living. Number one, living in America, no matter where you live, no matter what you do, you're top 20% of the richest people in the world. Even the homeless people in America decide which soup kitchen they want to go to and which shelter they're going to stay at for the most part. So we forget, we say, oh, I live in an apartment and I drive an old beater car. I'm poor. And that's not the case. We have access to clean water, which makes us, um, you know, pretty high up there on the food chain. Um, uh, so we talked about how if you live in America, a lot of times all your needs can be met here on this earth, or so you think. Um, Whereas poor people are most often living a lifestyle that cries out for a faith in God. Um, Talked about why it is that we show favoritism, and it's usually a selfish gain, and it's because we look at the outward appearance, not necessarily where someone's true value lies. Um, and that's because our or the world's value system rarely agrees with God's value system. Um, the verses go on to talk about if you can never use, well, I'm loving my neighbor as an excuse to go rub elbows with popular people or rich people, because the issue isn't being nice to those people. The issue is ignoring and devaluing the poor. And that's a great analogy, but kind of the one that we carried throughout the morning with the high school students was more that popularity thing. We're not, as high school students, so much going to be rubbing elbows with rich people for our own selfish gain. It's going to be more the in crowd and the popular people and things like that. And then there were just a few more verses that talked about God's law and how if we break even one part, we're lawbreakers. I think the students get that definitely. Like if we sin, we're sinners. Um, but we pulled out this idea that I called selective obedience, and that is this idea that hey, I'm a good Christian and I go to church. So what's the big deal if I hang on to this little slice of life or this little piece of the world? Um, and I shared shared my testimony about how that was definitely my walk. And there's still times where it's like, man, it would be so great if I could be a Christian, obey God, but I could just hang on to this one little thing that the world has to offer me. And we can't live life that way. I also explained that that does not mean that we're required to live a perfect life. There's a difference between a moment of weakness, making a mistake, sinning, and repenting, and saying, you know what, I just want to hang on to this. God, you have my entire life, except for, I want to be able to decide what I expose myself to. I want to be able to decide what is appropriate, things like that. I want to be able to decide who are the people they get to gossip about. I want to be able to decide how I treat my parents. Everything else, Lord, you have. Uh, and that just doesn't fly. That's not how it works. Um, so we got right up until faith and deeds, and we will jump into that next week. Hope this helps out. Hope this gets some good conversations going. If you have any more questions or if you want to know about the illustrations, the analogies that I used, You're welcome to call me, text me, email me. A million ways to get a hold of me. All right. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.